a lioness suddenly appeared out of nowhere and grabbed a girl who was taking a selfie in front of her house. What happened next will shock you. A young woman from India wanted to take a selfie for her boyfriend. But when she turned around to take the picture, she found herself face to face with a 400-pound lioness. The girl screamed as loud as she could, but no one could hear her over the sounds of the busy market nearby. She tried everything she could to get away from the big cat, but the lioness just wouldn't let her go. The girl thought she was going to be the lioness's dinner, but at the last second, a small dog came to save her. Do you want to know more about this incredible story? Stay tuned until the end. But first, if you could like this video, it would help us a lot. Thank you. And now, let's go. The girl's name was Rakhi Chahal, and she lived in a village in India. Her house was not far from a forest, and every day she could see monkeys and other animals walking past her home. Even though the animals were wild, they had never bothered her before, so she felt very safe in her own backyard. It was a Sunday morning, and Rakhi had just finished her breakfast. It was then that she decided to send a picture to her boyfriend, which is why she went out into the garden to take the selfie. But the animal that took the selfie instead of her was something she could never have imagined. Rakhi had taken many pictures in the garden before, but this time it was different. As she turned around to look at the camera, a huge lioness was standing right behind her. The girl couldn't believe what she was seeing. She started screaming as loud as she could, but the lioness didn't seem to care. The big cat looked at the girl for a few seconds, and then opened its mouth wide and pounced. When the lioness lunged, Rakhi threw her hands up to protect her head. She closed her eyes tight and waited for the worst. But instead of feeling sharp teeth or claws, she felt the lioness's hot breath on her face. When she opened her eyes again, the lioness was closer than ever. Its huge paws were only inches away from her. They were even touching each other. Although the lioness hadn't bitten her yet, Rakhi knew that this could change in a matter of seconds. She started banging her head against the lioness's face in an attempt to push it away, but it was too strong for her. It didn't budge an inch. The girl tried kicking the lioness, but that also didn't work. The only thing she got for her efforts was a sharp claw that left a deep mark on her leg. Then the lioness did something that made Rakhi's heart sink. It stood up on its hind legs and grabbed the girl by the waist with its paws. This way, it was even taller than her, and there was absolutely nothing Rakhi could do to escape. Then the worst happened. The lioness started dragging the girl through the tall grass. Rakhi tried to stay calm, but she knew she would soon become the lioness's dinner. Suddenly, a car passed by and stopped to see what was going on. But when the people inside saw that it was a wild animal and a human, they drove off again. Rakhi felt completely helpless. All she could do was scream for help. She kept hoping that someone would come to rescue her, but nobody did. Meanwhile, the lioness carried her to a small cave hidden between some rocks. All this time, Rakhi had been holding her breath, but now she let out a big sigh. She knew that she wouldn't get away alive. Just then, the lioness dropped her down onto the ground and backed away a bit. Rakhi fell on her back and looked up at the big cat. To her surprise, the lioness didn't attack her immediately. Instead, it started licking her face. This confused Rakhi even more, but the lioness must have sensed that something was wrong. Suddenly, it started growling loudly and moved closer to the girl. Rakhi thought that it was going to finish her off, but instead the lioness stood up and walked away from her. Just when Rakhi thought she would finally be left alone, the lioness came back. it was growling again and kept moving closer and closer. Raki huddled in a corner and closed her eyes tightly. But when the lioness approached her again, she opened them. To her great surprise, the lioness had brought a small dog with her. The big cat dropped the dog at Raki's feet and then walked away. The girl couldn't believe what she was seeing. She looked from the lioness to the dog and back again. She didn't know what the lioness wanted from her, but she was sure that she didn't want to hurt her. Reki reached out her hand to pet the dog, but when she did, it started growling at her. The dog stayed close to Reki for a few minutes, and then it ran back to the lioness. The big cat rubbed against the dog and licked it. Then they both looked back at Reki. At this point, Reki realized that the lioness wasn't trying to hurt her. In fact, it had saved her life. That's because the dog was injured. One of its legs was broken and it couldn't walk properly. The lioness had probably brought the dog to her so that she could help it. Raki didn't hesitate for a second. She immediately set off for help. She quickly made it to her house and called for her family. When they heard what had happened, they immediately rushed to her aid. Together, they carried the injured dog to a nearby vet clinic. Reki was very happy that she could help the dog. After all, it had saved her life. Unfortunately, the dog's leg had been broken for quite a while, so it had to be amputated. But thanks to Raki's quick reactions, the dog survived. As a reward, she was allowed to keep the dog and named it Sharu, which means brave in Hindi. As for the lioness, Raki has never seen her again, but she is very grateful that the big cat saved her life. After Raki's story became known, many people criticized her for going into the garden alone. But she had never been afraid of the animals in the forest before, and certainly did unexpect that a lioness would attack her. Who could have guessed that a lioness would suddenly appear out of nowhere? If you ask me, I think Raki was very lucky that she met a lioness instead of a tiger. Tigers are much more aggressive than lions, and Raki definitely wouldn't have survived a tiger attack. But even though the lioness didn't mean to harm her, I think Raki was still very shaken by the experience. It takes a lot of courage to approach a wild animal like a lioness. I'm glad that in the end everything worked out well for Raki and the dog. I hope that these two will be friends for many years to come. Now, it's your turn. What do you think of Raki's story? We look forward to your comments. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.